Hello, everybody, and welcome to Westerly High School Federico Gymnasium for tonight's female volleyball matchup between our own Bulldogs of Westerly High versus the Vikings of Rogers. Game may be behind a couple minutes due to delayed arrival from Rogers, but Westerly's done with their warm-ups and waiting on the sideline. JV team coming off of a convincing 3-0 victory versus Central just 2 days ago on Wednesday, this being their second home match of the season. Rogers appears to be finishing up their warm-ups, and we'll get the action to you from here. Game slated for a 4:30 start. Again, it's going to be delayed a few minutes, followed by the varsity matchup, which is a 6:30 start tonight. Coach Beal is speaking to her team right now as we speak, as Rogers continues to warm up. The varsity team, coming off of a 3-1 loss to Central on Wednesday, will seek to bounce back with a victory tonight, immediately following the JV match. It looks like we have about 12 minutes until the game is going to start, judging by the scoreboard I now see. Westerly with a few late roster changes today. As the team is gathered on the side of the court, just observing Rogers finishing their warm-ups, trying to gain any advantage as they can. Filler-wise, I don't know. Welcome back, everybody, to Federico Gymnasium, site of tonight's female volleyball matchup between our own Bulldogs of Westerly versus the Rogers Vikings. Starting a little bit late due to late arrival, about a minute away from getting under play as the players are actually taking the court now. Bulldogs getting a few final instructions, about to break their huddle. Coming off a JV squad, coming off a convincing 3-0 victory versus Central just 2 days ago here in Westerly. And both teams are taking the court as I speak. The official giving final instructions to both teams. Set to take her post atop the chair. And she is at the moment confirming numbers on players, I believe. We are also site to the varsity matchup immediately following, scheduled for 6:30, which will be the Rogers Vikings versus the Westerly Bulldogs. Bulldogs coming off a tough 3-1 defeat versus Central here on Wednesday, looking to avenge their loss later this evening. And the ball has been placed into Rogers' hands, who will start tonight's matchup with serve. And we are ready to go, folks. Number 13 of Rogers, set to serve. And there's the whistle, and here we go. The serve, inbounds, bump back across to Rogers. Rogers with a bump. 13 dumps it back over to Wesley's side. Wesley's off the net, and that's going to be the first point of the game, scored by an excited Rogers team, making the score 1-0 Rogers. Progressive scoring, games to 25. You can score whether you are at service or not. And 13 looking for 2 in a row. And the serve, this one's a lob style, bumped back over immediately, set by Rogers. Number 13 to the net, and a spike attempt, saved by Westerly. We have a bump, and dumped back over in Westerly by Vitolino. And a spike attempt for Rogers, saved. We have a set. And a spike attempt again, saved by number 13. Rogers miscommunication, and that is a Westerly point. That spike was by Sydney Hake of the Bulldogs. And we now have a tie ball game. Westerly's first service of the match. And the whistle. And we're off. Nice serve to the middle of the court. No man's land, and Rogers cannot handle the serve. And that is an ace for Westerly. And making the score 2-1. And the whistle. A lob serve into a tough spot, and that's another ace for Westerly. And that makes the score 3-1. Westerly had a great game on service last week, on Wednesday, against Central. The score 3-1 Bulldogs. And to the front, bumped by number 17, set by 13, back to 17. Can't complete the spike, and it's another Bulldog score. The score 4-1. And that one's going to fall short for the Bulldogs, giving Rogers their second point of the evening and service to score 4-2. That was 4 straight service points for number 4 for the Bulldogs. And the whistle. Rogers serves from middle court. Nice serve, tough spot, dug out. Wesley's going to have to dump it back over, number 15 for the Bulldogs. Martino dumps it back over, 13 with the set, and Rogers returns. We have to get it over for the Bulldogs, and they do on the third hit. Dumped back over by Rogers. We have a nice set situation for the Bulldogs. And the spike attempt is saved by Rogers. Number 13 of Rogers with a nice hit, and Wesley cannot handle it, making the score 4-3. Martino for the Bulldogs with 2 beautiful digs on that. However, Rogers' offense a little bit too much. And the score 4-3 Bulldogs. Number 12 for Rogers, set to serve from center court. And it's deep middle, bumped by Westerly. And a bump set and over. And that's going to float out of bounds. And a good effort by Savallo for the Bulldogs, just wide left, tying the score 4-4. And number 12 will go for her third service point in a row. The overhand serve, deep, bumped by Westerly. Another bump towards the net and brought back over. Number 13 saves for Rogers, and they are unable to get it back over the net on the return, giving the Bulldogs a 1-point advantage at 5-4. And Sydney Hake set to serve for the Bulldogs. Bulldogs serving with a 5-4 lead. And that's a nice serve. That's an ace. Finds a hole in the short zone. Nobody can get there, giving the Bulldogs a 6-4 lead. Great serve by Hake, who goes for 2. And she holds back, doesn't like the set. And the serve falls short of the net and makes the score 6-5 Bulldogs. Rogers with the serve. And that will be number 17 for Rogers with the serve from center court. Rogers with a couple substitutions. And the serve. It's a lob serve towards the middle. Wesley sets it up. Number 26 for the Bulldogs with the spike attempt, but it's dug out. 13 with the set. And Rogers with the spike by number 30 and the point. Wesley unable to handle it. Good effort by Giancarelli on the Bulldogs. Ties the score 6-6. Even matchup thus far. And number 17 looking to break the tie. Short middle serve. We have a bump by the Bulldogs. And it's a net on the Bulldogs, awarding Rogers with the point. 7-6 Rogers. The net is no man's land as your body or hand cannot hit the net. And this serve is going to fall short, tying the game up at 7-7, returning the serve to the Bulldogs. And serving for the Bulldogs will be Savallo from center court. And a nice serve. Difficult to handle in the back row, and it's a bump set. Number 30 for the Rogers dumps it over, out of bounds, and that will break the tie, giving the Bulldogs an 8-7 lead. Rogers huddles midcourt, making a few adjustments, and Wesley to serve. Savallo deep, nice serve, and 13 with the set to number 30, who is unable to dump it over the net, giving the Bulldogs a 2-point advantage in 9-7. And Savallo looking for a second service point. And the front spin, bump by deep middle. And it's a carry by Rogers, awarding the Bulldogs with another point, giving them a 10-7 advantage. And Megan Savallo looking for her fourth straight service point. And we have a substitution. Giancarelli getting a breather. Caracciolo coming in. Savallo with the serve to deep middle. Number 13 with a set back. Deep middle return for Rogers. Bump set for the Bulldogs. Unable to complete it over the middle, making the score 10-8. Bulldogs advantage. Rogers serve. Number 14 for Rogers. Getting set to serve. And we have another substitution as Savallo gets a rest. The score 10-8 Bulldogs. There's the whistle and we're off. Doesn't like her set, we'll reset. And a front spinning serve, very difficult to handle. And that was a great effort on the Bulldogs by Lamb. Beautiful serve by Rogers. Speed and a front rotation is very difficult to hit forward. And that makes it a 1-point game, 10-9. And another beautiful serve. That's a straight ace. Very difficult serve to handle. Middle of the court on a line, front spin so it dives. Very, very effective serving style by number 14, ties the game 10-10. You see more of this in the varsity level. And another beauty. And Westerly again chasing it and can't handle it again. That's 3 in a row. Westerly unable to handle the serve at the moment. Gonna have to find an answer. The score, Rogers 11, Bulldogs 10. Number 14 of Rogers, commanding the court at the moment with her service style. Looking for 4 in a row. And it might run deep, but Wesley's gonna bump it. And they're gonna have to dump it over, and they're able to do that. And they break serve, and that's a big thing for the Bulldogs. 11-11 tie game, and they take over serve. More importantly, it'll be a little while before we see number 14 serving again for Rogers. And Lily Vedolino set to serve for the Bulldogs. Trying to take momentum here. And the serve's gonna fall short, giving Rogers a 1-point advantage at 12-11, and Rogers retains the serve. Serving for Rogers for the first time today will be number 18. And we are in game 1. The score 12-11, Rogers advantage. And number 18 for her first service of the match. And it's a nice serve towards the middle. Bump runs errant on the Bulldogs, giving Rogers a 13-11 advantage. Wesley having a hard time handling the serves of Rogers thus far, as Rogers holds a 2-point advantage. Number 18 looking for her second point. And the serve, short middle. Good bump by Westerly, good set. This is a good opportunity. Miscommunication, bumps it over. And number 13 to set. Number 12 dinks it over, and Wesley is able to bump, gotta get it over, and does. And Rogers hits the net on the return. That is going to be ruled against Westerly. And I believe we're replaying the entire situation. Number 18 serve towards the middle of the court. Good communication by Westerly. And it's a good return into the corner. Number 13 bump deep middle. Gonna have to get it over. Miscommunication on Rogers' end. And it falls harmlessly to the ground, making it a 1-point game. 13-12, Westerly trails. And number 15 for Westerly, Martino set to serve from middle court, as is a Rogers substitution. And we have a 1-point game. There's the whistle. And the serve of beauty, just wide right on a line, going to give Rogers the point and the service back. 14-12 to score, Rogers advantage. As Wesley sets up in their 3-2-1 defense. Rogers, number 29 serves, short middle, bump by Wesley. Bump set and over, and it falls into a dangerous area. Rogers cannot return, and Westerly gets the point and breaks the serve. The score 14-13. And the referee is calling for there's a substitution on Westerly's side. And Westerly serve is deep middle. Good bump by Rogers. Bump set by number 13 and return by Rogers. Set by Westerly. Bump front middle. Got to get it over and does. Difficult spot. Good recovery on Rogers' end. Bump set by 13. Back over to Wesley's side. We have a bump. Set and a beautiful opportunity for a spike, and does. Great job by Rogers with the dig. And Westerly with just as good of a return. This is a great volley at the moment. Number 28 with the bump set, and Rogers gonna have to get it over. They do. Spike down by Westerly. That was number 7, Sydney Hake, with the exclamation point of a great volley as Westerly ties the game 14-14 and retains serve. Caracciolo serving for Westerly. That was the best volley thus far of the match. And the serve to break the tie. It's going to be deep and bump deep. The 28 bump forward, going to have to get it over, and they do. Westerly bumps towards the net and dumps towards the middle, and Rogers cannot handle it. Bulldogs taking 15-14 lead. Caracciolo looking for her third straight service point. This has been clean volleyball on both sides. Good play. And the serve on a line down the side. Bumped over to 13 with the set, and Rogers returns. Catalino, and it's at the net, and it falls, and Rogers is unable to handle it. And Westerly gathers a 2-point lead for themselves. Got themselves buried towards the corner of the net. We're just unable to recover. And Caracciolo looking for point number 4. Beautiful serve towards the middle. 28 with a nice bump. 13 with a set opportunity. 17 returns for Rogers. And we have a net against Westerly, giving Rogers the point and the serve. And that makes the score 16-15. Bulldogs hold a 1-point lead. Rogers, number 13, set to serve. And we have a late substitution by Westerly. And we are ready to go now as she approaches service line with a walking forward style. And a strike towards the middle. Wesley's able to bump it. Catalino with the bump to the net. And Hake over the net. And it falls off the net. Unable to be handled by Westerly for a tie, 16-16. A little misfortune for the Bulldogs there with the ball hitting the net. And number 13 set to serve. The serve, short right, bumps back over by the Bulldogs, set right back over by Rogers. And we have a bump set for the Bulldogs. Savallo returns. Number 13 with the set, 17 for Rogers off the net. Good dig by the Bulldogs, however, they're unable to keep it in the court, breaking the tie, 17-16, Rogers with the advantage and the serve. Each match going to 25. This match has had countless lead changes, it's been back and forth for its entirety. And number 13 sets to serve. The serve is out of bounds, and Westerly will get the point in break service. We have a substitution and a tie game there, 17-17. And there's the whistle, and we're off. The serve, it's going to be short off the net, didn't quite make it, and that's going to give Rogers the point and the serve. 18-17 lead here in game 1. If you're just joining us, it's Rogers High School versus Westerly High School. Federico Gymnasium JV female volleyball. The score, Rogers 18, the Bulldogs 17 in game 1 of a best-of-5 series. Referee is giving some final instructions on a substitution. And I do believe there's a little confusion, but we are now ready. And the whistle, and number 12 set to serve. The serve, deep middle, bump by Westerly. Gonna have to get it over, and they do, but it is out of bounds, and Rogers gets the point and grabs a 2-point advantage, 19-17. Westerly having a hard time setting themselves up. The initial bump going a little bit out of the way, making things a little more difficult on themselves. Number 12 with the serve, short to the side, bumped by Westerly. Good set opportunity, the spike attempt, bumped towards the net. And another bad break by the Bulldogs, who go for the block, ball hits the net, and ricochets down for the point. The score, 20 for Rogers, 17 for Westerly. Westerly's had a few of those bounce against them. And number 12 with the serve. It's a short liner. Westerly bumps it right back over. Rogers return. Westerly with the bump set, got to get it over, and they do off the net. And Rogers can't handle it, and Westerly breaks serve and steals the point. This score 20-18. And we have Sydney Hake set to serve for the Bulldogs. Hoping to grab a few back here. Doesn't like the first set. Giving herself another chance here. And it's a beauty of a serve. Unable to be handled by Rogers. That was a missile over the middle. And the score 20-19. The Bulldogs trailing by only one. And Hake will get set to serve again. And the whistle. And she doesn't like it again. She knows where she likes it, judging by the last serve, was an ace. And she uses this one just over the net, and that's a beauty as well. Front spinning line drive. She knows where she likes to put it. And those are two aces to tie the game 20-20. Two of the best serves we've seen this evening. Very difficult to return. And to break the tie. Hake again. And this one's going to fall short off the side of the hand. And it's going to make the score 21-20 Rogers with the serve. Each game 225, win by 2. Number 17 set to serve for Rogers. Westerly's still a little bit more energized. And the serve, high middle, bumped by Westerly, and dumped over. Net on Westerly. Point for Rogers. That was seemingly an unforced error on Westerly's part. And the score 22-20 Rogers. And number 17, set, serve, safely in the middle. We have a bump, we have a set. And the set goes over the net. Westerly unfortunately hits the net unnecessarily again. They appear confused, however, when they're coming down, their bodies are hitting the bottom of the net, and that awards Rogers another point. The ball had landed on Rogers' side, so Westerly did cost themselves a point there. The score 23-20 Rogers. And Westerly's going to have to try to break serve here. 17 safely, lob over the middle, bump by Westerly. With a bump back, Savallo with the return. Bad bump by Rogers, going to have to get it over, and they're unable to. And Westerly does break serve, making the score 23-21. And we have Megan Savallo with the serve for Westerly, number 26. Trailing by 2, 23-21. The whistle, the set, the serve is a beauty. Deep forward spin, good bump by Rogers. Oh, the dump over. And number 13 for Rogers tricked the Westerly defense. Westerly expecting the normal set, and for the first time, she has dumped it over. And the score is point 21. Score 24-21 Rogers. A point will win the match. It is to 25, win by 2. Westerly needs the break here. Number 14 serving for the match. And if I remember correctly, she had a dynamite serve last time, but this one falls short. And that's going to give Westerly another opportunity to score 24-22. Westerly needs to grab 2 in a row here to continue the match. And Westerly set to serve. Still match point, and the ball does not quite get over the net, giving Rogers the first game of the day, 25-22. Rogers leads the series 1-0. Westerly's sets were a little bit errant throughout the match. They never really got in a groove setting up for their final hit. Rogers was a little bit more organized as far as their offense went, with number 13 being their primary setter and pretty much on target throughout. And we're going to go off to commercial. Welcome back, folks, as both teams making some adjustments and getting some fluids. between match 1 and match 2, which went the distance, back and forth throughout. We can probably expect the same throughout. Wesley's going to have to do a little bit better job organizing their offense. And service was an issue as well, as Rogers outserved the Bulldogs. And the Bulldogs get together as a team. And the Dogs chant is heard throughout the gym as Rogers now gets together. And the Bulldogs take the court. We have about just over a minute until game number 2. Again, this is a best-of-5 series, followed by the Varsity Bulldogs versus the Varsity Vikings of Rogers. And Westerly on the court. Rogers awaiting one player. Westerly showed a little bit better service in their match on Wednesday, so we know they have the capabilities. Just a lot of difficulty with the bump going forward, making things a little bit more difficult for themselves. Again, it's been an issue of hitting the net for the Bulldogs with their body on the landing of their jumps. They're coming into contact with the net, a lot of times unknowingly. However, the refs always see it, and they cost themselves a few points in the last game. And that was Rogers you just heard, and they are taking the court for game number 2. We are just about ready to go, waiting for only the official. And Westerly should be serving to begin the match. And the official with the ball is ready to take her post. Making sure of the numbers that are on the court. Confirming who is starting for both squads. And now providing the ball to Westerly, who will start the game with service. This is Gencarelli serving for the Bulldogs. And the score is 0-0. First service of the game. And the whistle, and we're off. And we have a lefty. And it's a beautiful serve just over the net. Now number 13 set. Going to have to return it. Number 12 does. And Westerly hit the net. And the point is awarded to Rogers. Wesley is very confused as to where they're doing this. There was no net play at all. So we're going to have to see going forward what this is. And I do believe there's a late substitution, as the referee is providing instruction for the player's placement. And now we're ready to go. Number 12 for Rogers with the serve, and a 1-0 lead. And the serve doesn't make it over the net, and that will tie the game 1-1. And Westerly will take the serve. And it will be Sydney Hake with the serve for Westerly. 1-1 tie here in game 2. And set to serve. And the serve goes to the ground early, and the score goes to Rogers for a 2-1 lead. Rogers huddles in the middle of the court quickly. For a little instruction, neither team grabbing much momentum here to start. And number 29 with the serve for Rogers from center court. And it's a lob. Westerly with a bump back over, and it's going to be good for a point. Oh, excuse me, Westerly hits the net again. And that point is going to go to Rogers. This is a consistent issue. And that will... Never mind, my apologies. Westerly will get the point, and it is 2-2. And Westerly follows with a great serve and an ace to make the score 3-2. That was a beauty of a serve, very difficult to handle. And that was, again, Wesley's advantage on Wednesday was their service. So if they can return to that style, it'll make things much more difficult for Rogers, who appears to serve very well themselves. Lamb with his second serve, and it is a beauty, and it is bumped to no man's land, and that is good for another Bulldog point. 4-2 Bulldogs advantage. Kaylee Lamb with a serve, looking for her second point. And the whistle, and we're off. The serve is a beauty, and it falls harmlessly to the ground inbounds, and that is good for a 5-2 lead. Beautiful serve, side spinner by Kaylee Lamb, and for her third. And this one's going to go deep and fall just deep, giving Rogers the serve back, and a 5-3 Bulldog lead. And number 14 will serve for Rogers, who served very well in the first match. A very difficult to handle forward spinning style in the first match. And we see it again, but this one falls short of the net. That style is famous for falling short. However, it must clear the net first. To score 6 Bulldogs, 3 Vikings. Bulldogs serve. And a timeout by the Bulldogs. And timeouts are a minute in duration. Bulldogs getting some instruction here. Finding themselves with a 3-point lead. Looking to extend. Rogers trying to contain any damage. Neither team really went on a run last game. It was back and forth pretty much right until the end. But in a best-of-5 matchup, you never want to fall 0-2. Makes things far more difficult. So this is a opportunity for the Bulldogs to grab an early lead and maybe hang on to it. And they're ready to go as they take the court. Still with about 20 seconds remaining for Rogers. And they are ready to go. And the official. The Westerly serve is going to fall short of the net, making it 6-4. And Rogers serve. Trying to figure out whose serve it is, the Rogers at the moment. And it looks like it's going to be a substitution. And number 6 will take the serve at the same time. We are ready to go with number 6 serving for Rogers High Junior Varsity Female Volleyball versus the Westerly Bulldogs, trailing 6-4. However, holding a 1-game-to-none lead. Beautiful serve. Front spin handled by Westerly. Miscommunication on the bump. They do get it over. However, it was a 4th hit. That bump was struck by 2 players. A little miscommunication on the second hit by Westerly, which was an issue throughout the entirety of the first match, was that second hit. They were unable to set up a third. And the score 6-5. Westerly leading by 1. Number 6 with the serve. And it is a nice serve. Westerly able to bump it. And a back bump again. Number 7 able to dump it, unable to dump it over. And the score for Rogers ties the match, and again, it's the second hit that haunts them. Generally, you want the second hit to set up a teammate towards the net, and it seems to be kind of going awry a little bit. And number 6 looking for her 3rd in a row to break the tie. The serve falls short, a beauty, a bump save to get it over. Rogers dumps it, and it is dumped into no man's land. Westerly unable to handle it, and Rogers getting the point. Still a little bit of confusion on the Westerly side. 7-6 Rogers, advantage. Number 6 for 4. She's placing the ball all over the court. Very difficult to get a read on it. Down the middle this time. Westerly makes it a dive save and unable to handle it. And that's an ace for Rogers, making the score 8-6. Number 6 doing a great job serving right now. Placement all over the court, side to side, front to back. and team being duly rewarded. And the serve is a lob, first lob style, bump by Westerly. The set. And number 2, Emily Britton over the net. And number 12 for Rogers to the back line. Lamb handles it. Nobody in the area, miscommunication again on that second hit. Nobody able to set it. And that will turn into another Rogers point. And serves the score 9-6. And this will be for 7 straight points for number 6 of Rogers. And the serve is a low liner into the net, and Westerly will break a must-necessary serve. The score 9-7. Bulldogs only trail by 2. And Emily Britton with the serve for the Bulldogs. Still early in anybody's game. And the serve falls short. Westerly having a difficult time getting in the groove. 10-7 Rogers lead. And Rogers will have a substitution as number 30 will serve with a 10-7 lead. The whistle. And the serve is a beauty, just clears the net. Westerly unable to handle it cleanly. And an 11th point, 11-7 Rogers. That's a very difficult serve to handle. That barely cleared the net, but did. And the whistle. Doesn't like her set, gets another opportunity. Number 30 will reset to serve. Has to hit this one, and it will fall short. And that will give the Bulldogs an 8th point. And more importantly, serve. Number 24 serving for the Bulldogs. Caracciolo will try to break the point here and get their Bulldogs back towards a tie match. Lamb substitute. She is getting a break as Savallo comes in. Caracciolo with the serve, and it's a beauty, deep right. And number 13, even better serve and set. And it's unable to be handled by the Bulldogs. Again, Rogers doing a much better job with setting up their teammates with their second hit. And great credit to number 13, who is handling most of those duties. Westerly, conversely, having a difficult time with their second hit and kind of making things more difficult on themselves. However, they only trail by 4, which is very little in volleyball, especially progressive scoring where you don't need to serve to score. Number 13 for Rogers, set to serve. She is a huge role on their offense as their primary setter. And the serve in play. Westerly bump, and Westerly has a nice set this time. And the spike doesn't go through. Megan Savallo unable to convert, and Westerly trails 13-8. Rogers serve, back to number 13. And the whistle. And the serve is up. And it's a beauty, it's in play. Good bump by Westerly, no communication on the second hit. They dump it over. Number 13 with the set. And number 12 bumps it over to Westerly, unable to handle it. And that will go for the 14th point for Rogers, who has a 6-point lead and serve. Westerly is able to handle the initial serve, it's just the second hit. And number 13 looking for 3 in a row. Team leading by 6. And the ball is up. The serve, deep middle, bumped by Westerly. Perfect set situation. Savallo into the net, and that will be a Rogers point. 15-8 Rogers. Just a little out of sync, the Bulldogs at the moment tonight. Set in their 3-2-1 defense. Number 13 for 4 in a row. Serving with a 7-point advantage. And a nice serve, deep middle bumped. Westerly miscommunication on the second hit. Savallo dips it over. Number 28, 13 with the fake dump. Back to 13, bump set. Another set by Rogers, and the Bulldogs are called for hitting the net. and they will lose a point, making it 16-8. And number 13 serving. Players are very surprised by the call. Coach isn't complaining. And number 13 looking for another service point. And it's a good serve. It is wide right, and he gives the Bulldogs a point and the serve. And the Bulldogs here looking to gain some momentum, trailing 16-9 in the second game. And that serve is off the net, and it's a beauty. It's a break maybe the Bulldogs might have needed just for momentum here. And it's 16-10. And you're never out of it in a game like this. We see runs for 5, 6 points regularly in volleyball. There's a substitution. Savala will get a break for the Bulldogs as Lamb returns. And the Bulldogs looking for 2 in a row. And the lefty server puts it in play. A bump too close to the net. Number 13 for Rogers tries to save, and it goes wide to the right, giving the Bulldogs another point, making it 16-11. That's 2 in a row for the Bulldogs. Might be just what the doctor ordered. Is the lefty server. And the serve, nice serve just over the net. Number 13 to set. Off her mark for the first time today. And it is, we're looking for the call here. Ref conferring with the, and the point is going to go to Rogers after the officials confer, giving them a 17 point, the Bulldogs an 11. And there's still a discussion between coaches and official at the moment. And they're gonna, Wesley's coach displeased. The serve will return to Rogers. And Rogers will make a substitution. The score 17-11. Just a bit of dispute as to whether the ball was in or out on the far side. And the whistle, and number 12 to serve for Rogers. The score 17 Rogers, Bulldogs 11. Nice serve deep down the middle. Bulldogs can't handle it as the bump goes far out of bounds towards the bleachers. And the score 18-11. Just as the Bulldogs seem to possibly getting a little momentum, they get deflated a little bit with the call. They can't allow it to carry over on defense for too long here, as number 12 serves a missile. And Wesley can't handle that either. That's difficult for anybody to handle. Front spin, corner of the back line. Very difficult serve to handle. 19-11 Rogers, who can't be discredited. They're playing an all-around game. They're serving well, and the sets by number 13, their primary setter, have been right on the money 90% of the time. Makes it very difficult. And another beauty for a serve, and it is out of bounds, though, just out of bounds, giving Westerly their 12th point. They trail by 7, 19-12 with service. And it's going to be Sydney Hake with the serve, who has had success earlier in the game. Westerly needing a little run here. And the serve doesn't make it. And it's going to make the score 20-12 for Rogers. Rogers just a little bit more organized with their offense, which is putting Westerly on their toes defensively. A lot of their bumps have been reaching and off balance. And Rogers this time with the errant serve, giving Westerly the free point, 20-13, and Westerly another chance to serve with Kaylee Lamb at the helm serving for the Bulldogs. And I assure you, it's still anybody's game here. This is volleyball, and there's a point on every serve. And it's a nice serve to the corner, mishandled by Rogers, who bumps it back to the middle. 13 back over with a nice bump, and Westerly can't handle it. And that gives Rogers the point, and the score 21-13. Rogers gets the serve back. Rogers playing an all-around good volleyball game here for the second game in a row. And Rogers, number 14, will serve. Their service ability across their roster seems to be a big difference at the moment tonight. And the serve front spinning back line while Westerly bumps it directly over. And it's going back and forth one hit at a time. We have a set for Westerly. Number 17 over the net, number 13 with the set. We have a bump set, miscommunication, but Rogers able to get it over. Westerly bump, dump, and number 13 is going to have to set it up. And they do, and they can't get it over the net. It falls for a Westerly point, and that's a big volley for the Bulldogs. The score 21-14, and the Bulldogs regain the serve. Vettelino with the serve, trailing by 7. And the serve's a beauty up the middle. Rogers has to bump it, and they do. Miscommunication by Westerly. Falls between 3 players. And the score 22-14. That seems to be the story of this game right now for Westerly. It's just a little bit off communication-wise. There's a substitution, and number 6 will take the serve off of the substitution. Holding an 8-point lead, needing only 3 for victory in the second match. Number 6 did well at the service spot last time, and she falls short this time as the Bulldogs grab the point and the serve. The score 22 Rogers, 15 Westerly. Martino with the serve for Westerly. And one last serve as Gencarelli gets a rest. And the serve's a beauty, deep, bumped by Rogers, set by number 13 and over the net. And Westerly with a beautiful score. Much needed score by Caracciolo. And Westerly brings it up to 16-22. Martino looking for 2 in a row. The whistle. And it's a high, deep serve. It's a beauty. It's bumped by number 14, set by 13, and number 12 sets it over the net to Westerly. Westerly has a good bump set, and Caracciolo with the spike attempt, and it's returned by number 13. Good placement, great job by Westerly, and their return flies deep. 13 making it very difficult on the Bulldogs with excellent placement of her shots. The score 23 Rogers, 16 Westerly. It was a good job by Westerly on offense that time. Rogers just outplaying them a little bit right now. Rogers very fundamental with their offense, keeping the Bulldogs off balance, unable to have a run. Number 30 doesn't like her first setup. Gonna have to use this one. Set to serve, and 30 is short of the net. We'll give the Bulldogs a point, 23-17. And the Bulldogs Caracciolo with their serve. Trailing only by 6. And the serve. Deep middle, number 6 with the bump. 13 is going to have to get it over. Off the net does. Westerly with the set. And the strike attempt is blocked by Rogers for the point, making it game point. Rogers, 17 Bulldogs. Rogers is playing really good volleyball right now. That was a good offensive set by the Bulldogs all around. A good bump, a good set, and a good spike. Just great defense on Rogers' part. Playing the all-around game, service, offense, and defense. And who better than number 13 to serve for the match at the moment for Rogers. And the serve, a difficult one to handle. And Rogers pushes it out of bounds, giving Westerly another chance. And an 18th point to score 24-18. Rogers with game point. Westerly needs to run off about 6 in a row here to keep this a ball game, to stay alive in this one. The left-handed serve, just over the net, a beauty. Number 13 tricks him, puts it back over, and Rogers is unable to return, giving the Bulldogs a point, 24-19. The number's down to 5. Westerly needs 5 more to extend it. 5 straight, the Bulldogs are going to need to extend this. And there's one. The lefty service, maybe they can do it. Referee with some final instructions. The gym gets quiet. And the serve is in play, a bump. And we have a set by number 13, a back set. Westerly with a good dig. Westerly with a bump, the second hit, and they're going to have to get it over and do. 13 with the bump set. And miscommunication on Rogers' side. Westerly's starting to get excited, 24-20. Only 4 in a row to move it along. And the lefty server looking for 3 here. 24-20 Rogers. And the serve just short, giving Rogers the 25th point and the second game with a final of 25-20. That gives Rogers a 2-0 lead thus far this evening. Rogers all around playing good volleyball this evening. They are playing offense very fundamentally, good service, good second hit, good setting by number 13 for Rogers. And we are going to go to commercial break between games. And we're back, everybody, getting ready for what I believe to be a third game in the JV match, but it appears like something different is occurring here. It looks like teams are changing from varsity to JV early. JV is best of 3, my apologies. All right, so we're moving on to the varsity. We're going to go on a break and we're going to go off for a moment. JV Bulldogs losing 2-0 to Rogers, and we are getting ready for the varsity matchup.